Morning learners, my name is Mr. Ocheng Anthony and today I'm going to take you through Integrated Science Grade 7. We are going to handle the third strand, that is living things and their environment, and the specific substrand that we are going to discuss today is reproduction in humans. Welcome. At our introductory part, we defined the term integrated science, and we said integrated science is a broad learning area that normally involves the study of various branches of science together. Those branches of science that we are studying together in integrated science includes number 1, biology, number 2, physics, and number 3, chemistry. Biology is normally defined as a branch of science that deals with the study of living things. A living thing is any organism that has life. A good example of a living organism is plant and also an animal. Learners, I want you to understand that these organisms that you are calling living things, they normally have certain characteristics in common. A characteristic is a distinguishable feature that an organism has. So the common characteristics that will be found in all living organisms include number 1, nutrition, number 2, irritability, number 3, gaseous exchange, number 4, growth and development, number 5, excretion, number 6, movement and locomotion, number 7, respiration, and finally number 8, reproduction. Again, learners, I want you to know that these characteristics are very important, such that as we proceed with our learning area in junior school, some of these characteristics we are going to explain and discuss them in details, and those that we shall not handle at junior school level, you will handle them in senior school as you proceed with your education. Before we proceed, it is important that we understand the meaning of this term reproduction. And reproduction is normally defined as a biological process by which mature individuals normally bring forth offspring of their own kind. We have two types of reproduction. Type number 1, sexual reproduction, and type number 2, asexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction is a type of reproduction that normally involves the fusion of the nuclei of the male and female reproductive cells that we normally call gametes to form a single cell that we normally call zygote. Asexual reproduction, on the other hand, is a type of reproduction that normally involves the development of a part of a mature individual to form a new individual that in many cases is normally similar to the parent individual. Learners, I want you to know that this characteristic of an organism that we normally call reproduction is very important. We are going to list some of the importance of reproduction, and importance number 1 is that reproduction normally helps to prevent extinction of organisms. Extinction is when an organism goes out of existence. For example, long time ago there is an organism that used to live that we call dinosaur, but today dinosaur is out of existence. It went out of existence because it actually went into extinction. Importance number 2 of reproduction is that it normally allows for growth of population, and number 3, reproduction is important because it normally improves qualities of a species, particularly in sexual reproduction. Now, I want us to discuss reproduction in humans, and I want you to take note that normally in humans, the kind of reproduction that will take place is sexual reproduction, and in that sexual reproduction, the gametes, that is the male and female gametes, normally fuse, and the fusion normally take place within the internal system of the female reproductive system. In order for us to understand how reproduction normally takes place in humans, it is important that we know the structure of these reproductive organs. I will begin with the male reproductive system, and as you can see in this diagram, this is the male reproductive system. It has a number of parts. There is a part that we are calling urethra. There is a part that you are calling penis. There is a part that you are calling urinary bladder. That part is not normally important as far as reproduction is concerned, but it will be very useful when it comes to excretion. There is another part that you are calling scrotum. There is another part that you are calling testis. There is a part that you are calling epididymis. There is another part that you are calling corpus gland. There is another gland that you are calling prostate gland. And finally, there is a tube that you are calling sperm duct. Now, I want us to discuss the functions of these parts that are located in the male reproductive system so that we may know their roles in reproduction. I'll begin with the part that you are calling testis. And testis has two functions. Function number one, it normally produces sperms. And function number two, it normally produces male sex hormone that we call testosterone. The second part of the male reproductive system that I want us to discuss is the scrotum. Another name for scrotum is scrotal sac. And scrotal sac has two functions. Function number one, it normally supports and protects the testis. And function number two, it normally positions the testis outside the body. And this one is very important because that position outside the body will provide a cooler environment that is normally very much favorable for sperm production. The part number three of the male reproductive system is a part that you are calling epididymis, and the function of epididymis is to store sperms temporarily. The third part of the male reproductive system, learners, is a part that you are calling sperm duct. Sperm duct is also called vas deferens, and the function of the vas deferens is normally to transport sperms from the epididymis to the urethra. The part number five of the male reproductive system is a part that you are calling urethra, and the function of the urethra is to direct urine from the urinary bladder as well as sperms from the sperm duct out of the male body. And normally these two, they don't come out at the same time. All of them will be coming out of the body at different times. Part number six of the male reproductive system is a part that you are calling penis, and the function of the penis is to deposit sperms into the female reproductive part that we are calling the vagina. Now, there is another part of the male reproductive system that you are calling accessory glands. The accessory glands are normally three. Number one, we have prostate gland. Number two, we have corpus gland. And number three, we have the seminal vesicle. These three together will produce a fluid that is very important as far as reproduction is concerned. And that fluid, we normally call it semen. Individually, these three parts that we are calling the accessory parts of the male reproductive system normally have their own functions. Like, for example, the prostate gland normally carries out the function of secreting mucus together with a fluid that is normally alkaline in nature, and that alkaline fluid normally helps to neutralize the acidity in the vagina. The corpus gland, on the other hand, also normally produce a certain fluid that is alkaline in nature, and that particular fluid normally helps to clear up the urethra prior to ejaculation by neutralizing the acidity of urine in the urethra. The seminal vesicle normally produce a mucus secretion, and that mucus secretion normally mixes up with sperms to ensure a smooth movement of sperm within the female reproductive system. With that, we are done with the male reproductive system, and now I want us to look at the structure of the female reproductive system. And as you can see in this diagram, the external genitalia of the female reproductive system is composed of a number of parts. There is a part that you are calling clitoris. There is a part that you are calling the external urethral opening. That is the exact point where urine normally comes out in females. Then there is a part that you are calling the vaginal opening. That is the point that normally accommodates the sperms that are normally introduced into the female reproductive system by the penis during copulation. Internally, the female reproductive system has a number of parts. We'll begin with the vagina. The vagina is that part that acts as the opening into the female reproductive system. Then we have cervix. Cervix is normally called the wall, or I mean the door of the uterus. Then above the cervix, we have the uterus. The uterus has two walls. We have the innermost wall that is reddish in color. That innermost wall, we normally call it endometrium. Then we have the outer wall that we are calling myometrium. Then above the uterus, we have that tube-like structure. The tube-like structure, we are calling it fallopian tube. Another name for fallopian tube is oviduct. Then at the tail end of the oviduct, we have finger-like structures. Those finger-like structures, we call them the fimbriae. Then next to the fimbriae, we have the yellowish structure. That yellowish structure is what we are calling ovary, that normally produces the eggs that we call ova. I want us to discuss the functions of the parts of the female reproductive organs. And we are going to begin with the first part, which is the ovary, or the ovaries in plural. The function of the ovaries is to produce the eggs that we also call ova. And number two, they normally produce the female sex hormone that we normally call estrogen. The second part of the female reproductive system is a part that we are calling oviduct. Oviduct is also called fallopian tube, and the fallopian tube has the following functions. Number one, it normally acts as the place where fertilization normally occurs. And number two, it normally has hair-like structures that we call cilia that normally propel ovum towards the uterus after fertilization has taken place. The third part of the female reproductive system is a part that we are calling uterus. The function of the uterus is that it is a place where the embryo normally develops. Number two, it normally has a wall that we are calling endometrium, and that wall is where implantation and the nourishment of the embryo normally takes place during the initial stages of development. Number three, the uterus normally has the outermost wall that we call myometrium, and myometrium normally helps during delivery of a baby because it normally expands and contracts to expel the fetus out of the womb or the uterus. The fourth part of the female reproductive system is a part that you are calling cervix, and the cervix normally has three functions. Function number one, it normally secretes mucus, which normally prevents the entry of pathogen into the uterus during pregnancy. Pathogens are disease-causing microorganisms like bacteria, virus, or any other microorganism which may be dangerous to the developing fetus. Function number two of the cervix is that it normally remains contracted when the baby is still in the uterus to ensure that that particular baby or fetus is kept intact in the uterus. Function number three of the cervix is that normally during birth, it normally relaxes to allow the baby to come out of the uterus and into the world. Learners, I want you to understand that the reproductive system in humans is very important because it is this part that normally facilitates reproduction to occur in these particular individuals. Learners, today we have learned in this lesson that living organisms have a number of characteristics that they normally share in common. One of those characteristics is reproduction, and reproduction normally occurs in two ways. It can occur through fusion of the male and female gametes, and when the male and female gametes are fusing, that type of reproduction we call it asexual. At the same time, it can occur when a part of mature individual develops to produce a new individual that is normally similar to the parent individual, and when that occurs, that type of reproduction we normally call it asexual reproduction. Normally, The kind of reproduction that takes place in human is sexual reproduction, and that sexual reproduction normally involves fusion of male and female gametes, and the fusion of the male and female gametes normally occurs within the reproductive systems of males and females. Those reproductive systems of male and female are the specific parts that normally facilitate reproduction to occur in humans. Thank you very much for attending to today's lesson, and have a beautiful and blessed day. Thank you.